Hey Steelers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to our Pittsburgh Steelers news and rumor video here on a Wednesday. Training camp less than a week away, at least for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Teams like the Raiders went ahead and reported either yesterday or today, but the point is, it's here. Training camp is so darn close, and yet with a couple days left to go, I want to go ahead and kind of give you my dream sheet for the next couple of days. What would be the 5 best move the Steelers could make externally or internally on their rosters to get ready for training camp, the pre-training camp moves? Now, are all 5 of the ones I'm going to show you today going to actually happen in the next couple of days before training camp next week? Probably not, right? That's why it's called a dream sheet. However, some of these moves might not happen pre-training camp. They could happen during training camp or right after training camp, but they still could be the moves I talk about today. So I want to dive into those, starting with number 1, and that is trading Mason Rudolph. Now, this is a very clear one that's not going to happen the next couple of days, although I would still do it if there was an offer. You know, for instance, the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I would trade him to the Cleveland Browns because Cleveland needs a quarterback, and I'm not very, worried about Mason Rudolph beating me, twice a year, even with that Cleveland offense. I think Mason Rudolph needs to be traded, and I think he will be traded at some point during training camp. Now, you did re-sign him, sure. But did you expect to get Kenny Pickett? Maybe, but you have an offense, or at least a quarterback depth chart, that has plenty of guys on there. Like, there's just no need to go ahead and keep Rudolph. And honestly, I think Rudolph has deserved a chance to go somewhere else and actually start. He was kind of going to be the heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger, never kind of grabbed that slot by the horns, and never really has kind of emerged as a starter in this league. And so maybe he never will be, but I'm fine with him being let go because you have Kenny Pickett, and you have Mitch Trubisky, and I'm very excited about what Mitch Trubisky can do from a QB1 perspective. You guys know that when I talk here on the channel. I think he's going to be your starting quarterback in Pittsburgh and should be for the foreseeable future. But Kenny Pickett lingers and looms right there, and if Pickett is ready to go by the end of training camp, looks good in preseason, then not only could he start week 1, but there's no way he'd be behind Mason Rudolph on the depth chart. Sure, first couple weeks of training camp, you'll see Rudolph and Trubisky trade off with the 1s and 2s, and then you'll see, Pickett be with the 3s. It's just kind of the seniority of the National Football League. They're not going to put Pickett as your starter right away. But as training camp progresses, Rudolph will slide down that roster. It is inevitable, and if that's the case, why do you need to keep him? Just let him go. Trade him, get a 5th-round draft pick, get a 6th-round draft pick. You're not going to get much. That's fine. There's just no need for him to be on the roster long-term, and so he would be one of the moves I'm making pre-training camp, but most likely would happen during or a little bit after training camp, but more than likely, I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen during at least the next couple of weeks and months. What do you guys think? Add rate, pin comment down below. Will the Steelers make a trade before training camp? You think they will? Type Y down below for yes. Think they will not? Go ahead and type N down below for no. Let's go to number 2 here on our list of pre-camp moves to make. How about we figure out the Diontae Johnson situation? And I say figure it out because there are 2 likely scenarios, right? One is you extend him, or one is, you go ahead and trade him. You let him go. This is classic should he stay or should he go? Now, I've been on both sides of this over the past couple of months. I've had the idea of, okay, trade him. You don't want to sign him to a long-term deal. The wide receiver market is too expensive. And then I go, well, he was pretty good last year, and you do have some young unknowns at wide receiver with George Pickens and Calvin Austin. So ink him to a deal. If Pickens and Austin play well, fantastic. You have more weapons for the quarterback, whoever it is, right? So I'm on both sides of the fence here, but let's just figure this situation out. As of right now, it looks like he will obviously be on the roster for the start of training camp. It looks like they will at least try to work out a deal. At least I would expect them to. But what if you get 3 weeks into training camp, Pickens is playing great, Austin looks like he's going to be just fine as a 4th-round draft pick, and there's no deal done? Then maybe you do go ahead and move on from him. So we don't know what it's going to be. I just think you got to figure out the Diontae Johnson situation because he wants money. He deserves to be paid after what he did last year. Probably wants a little bit too much, hence why you haven't re-signed him. Either way, figure that out. I think we're going to learn a lot about the young receivers, including Johnson, early at training camp rather than later, and so hopefully they can figure out that wide receiver position very, very soon. Okay, well, we want you guys to do right now, not very, very soon, is to go ahead and turn on the notifications on our YouTube channel. That way you guys are notified of all the latest and greatest Steelers stuff, especially during training camp, which is starting next week. So if any of these moves happen, we're going to break it down with a video, which is why we want you guys to go ahead and turn on notifications. It's very simple. All you do is in the app, go to settings, then you're going to scroll down to the YouTube app, tap notifications, then turn on allow notifications, because a lot of times they don't even have all the notifications turned on. So make sure you guys follow the steps on your screen, turn on the notifications. That way all 15,000 of you guys are actually notified when we drop the latest videos, because sometimes YouTube is weird. You could hit the red subscribe button, and then you still won't get every single video that we post. It kind of like picks and chooses the ones. I mean, it's just weird. You always strange the YouTube algorithm. But make sure you guys turn on all the notifications. That way, you don't miss any of the greatest Steeler news and rumors. That's going to pick up a lot as training camp approaches here very soon. Okay, next move, and this is definitely an internal, that could be an external one, and that is prioritizing a solid backup for Najee Harris. Now, we talked about possible breakout stars for the Steelers at training camp yesterday. Mateo Durant was one of the ones that I had mentioned as being a breakout undrafted free agent running back star, and maybe he's the answer to, step number 3 here, right, in terms of a pre-camp move. Maybe you make him as a solid backup for Najee Harris, but we won't know that for the next couple of weeks. But as the next couple of weeks come and go, figure out who's RB number 2, because you've got to eventually start to spell Najee Harris and give him some rest and give him some breaks and make sure you have him for the long term, not just for the first 2 seasons of his career. So whether it's McFarland, whether it's Snell, whether it's Durant, whether you go trade for somebody, as we'll look at here in a second, sign somebody, who knows? There aren't a lot of great options on the market, as I'll show you, but figure out what you're going to do at backup running back. That is, to me, of utmost importance, even though you already have Najee as your number 1. Now, trading for a guy like Saquon Barkley was mentioned during the offseason. There were rumors that they were shopping him up there in New York. He's probably the best trade option that makes sense right now, but it's not going to happen. I mean, we got to at least acknowledge that. You see it in the comments of the video sometimes saying, oh, trade for Saquon Barkley. It's just not going to happen. And let's just be real here. You want to sign up free agent running back, there isn't anything great. I went through the list on Google today, and it was like Justin Jackson, Latavius Murray. I mean, these are names that were good years ago, but they're not that great now. Corey Clement. David Johnson, good years ago, very often injured, way too expensive, and obviously not going to happen, at least was way too expensive. So not a lot of options. I think you got to prioritize that 3 running back battle right now behind Najee Harris and figure out who's going to be number 2, because that person is going to be crucial, especially for the long-term success of the Steelers, not just this year, but beyond. Who will be the running back number 2 in this roster once we start week 1? Let me know what you guys think, whether it's Snell or McFarland or somebody else, Durant. Let me know who you think will be RB2 down in the comments section. Okay, I kind of hinted on this a little bit earlier, but you need to get the young wide receivers up to speed. And this isn't necessarily an external move to make. It's just a move that you need to make. You got to make sure these wide receivers are ready to go. Like, it's crucial that Pickens and Austin are ready, and for many reasons, not just for the success of the offense, but for figuring out the Diontae Johnson thing, which was two steps ago, figuring out what to do with him. If these 2 are ready to rock, then he is completely expendable. That is Diontae Johnson. If they're not, get him ready to go quickly, because who's going to be wide receiver number 3, right? So these 2 guys are definitely a crucial part of what could be a really good offense, and if they're not ready to go, it could be a little bit more of a lackluster offense. Now, the offensive line is an issue too, and we'll finish on that, but these 2 guys being up to speed to me is crucially important, and I think that you just got to get them ready to go as fast as possible, and they will, but hopefully it's sooner rather than later. All right, you guys want a shout out in a video later on this week? A lot of people like to get their names shouted out here on the channel. Loyal subscribers, type "Here we go" down below in the comments section, as we're really close to training camp. Here we go for training camp. Type "Here we go" down below for a chance at a shout out in a video either tomorrow or this weekend. So give me your comments down below right now. All right, we'll give you one more trade, because trades are always fun. We like to speculate about this sort of thing. I'm surprised they haven't done something like this, but maybe they're waiting for training camp to start. But why not trade for Andre Dillard? How many times have we mentioned Andre Dillard here on the channel, the left tackle, the backup left tackle for the Eagles, who was a former first-round draft pick and got demoted due to the fact that they hit on a late-round draft pick in Jordan Mailata, some rugby player who now is like one of the best left tackles in the league. Dillard is just kind of this starter who's not starting, who's just waiting for his opportunity. And right now, Edie, how good do you feel about Moore? I mean, do you feel great about him? I think you get Andre Dillard for a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, and you might be able to get a left tackle for the next 10 years. And so I think this would be a great move. Now, again, is it going to happen, today or tomorrow? Probably not. I think you got to get to training camp. You got to wait to see what they're going to look like, at least the offensive line. But if the offensive line doesn't look that great, and it's coming from the left tackle spot, I would immediately pick up the phone. I'd drive right down, a couple hours to Philadelphia, and I'd go trade for Andre Dillard immediately, because I think he would be a great addition to this offense and really try to make what we think is the weakest part of the offense a lot better, therefore giving the Steelers a real chance at being successful, at least offensively here in 2022. So I think that Dillard would make a lot of sense. But here is the 5, and we can just mention these one more time quickly. You obviously trade Mason Rudolph. You got to figure out the Diontae Johnson situation. You got to prioritize a solid backup at running back behind Najee Harris. Get those 2 young wide receivers up to speed, and then maybe make a trade for an offensive lineman. And if it's Andre Dillard, great. If it's not, figure out somebody else. But I think that overall, those are 5 moves either pre-camp or right at the beginning of camp that the Steelers could make that can make a lot of sense. All right, we'll go ahead and end on a quick subscriber note here. Again, training camp is coming. And even though I said at the top of this video, the odds of all 5 of these things happening in the next couple of weeks are slim, maybe one does. And if one does happen, we're going to cover it. Trade happens, Mason Rudolph gone, we'll break it all down here on the channel. Myself, Harrison, whether it's Tom Downey, somebody else, we're going to cover it here in the channel. So go down below, make sure you guys are subscribed because it's here. It's finally here. You've worked hard all offseason to, wait patiently for the Steelers to start, and it officially is starting. So go down below and subscribe and turn the notification bell as well. You will not be disappointed. Okay, ultimate today on our Pittsburgh Steelers news and review video. I'm host Thomas Mott signing off the rest of your day.